In previous video, we have seen how to create the column level encryption. We have created the column level encryption on some of the columns. For example, we have created this database and these are the tables we have created, and then we have encrypted this column in this table and this column. Some of the columns has encrypted data, and in this video we are going to set up the log shipping for this database. Sometimes your reporting application may want to run from the log shipping server. So how are we going to set up the log shipping for a encrypted database? When you set up log shipping secondary server, the target server, it should be in read-only mode or in recovery mode because it's continuously going to apply the log backups. So you cannot open the database master key and re-encrypt with the SMK because when you restore this database on new server, the DMK, the link between the DMK and SMK will be broken because you have to open the master key, sorry, the DMK, and then re-encrypt the SMK. So there is no way you can do that because the database is closed and continuously it will be in restoring mode. So how you can set up the log shipping? The only way is you have to take the SMK backup, that is a server master key backup, and then restore that SMK on target server and set up the log shipping. That's it. That's the only way you can set up the log shipping. So let's do it. To back up the SMK, this is the command to back up the service master key. So let's go to the source server and then back up the SMK. And when I take SMK backup, what it does is it just retrieves the unencrypted format of SMK and then encrypt with this password admin123. That's what it does. So let's run this. Sorry, there is no D drive. So now you have to copy this SMK over to the target server. Now on the target server, you have to restore. So this is how you restore the SMK, and we have restored the SMK. Now let's copy the backup. Okay, we just took the full backup and log backup to the same file. Now let's go to the target server. So now you have the two backups. One is full and next one is tlog backup. You can relocate to whatever directories and then say you want a standby, and then you have to create, it will create undo backup undo file. Okay, to read the to put the database in standby, it will create undo file. Okay, if you are going to put it in no recovery, then it's not going to create. So I'll just put it in standby. Oh, let's do this. We need to create the log shipping, right? So let's create no recovery, and then go properties, enable, this is primary, and then where you wanted to store the backups. So this is the folder you wanted to store the backup. Let's connect to the target server and say that the secondary database is already initialized, and then where you wanted to copy the backups on the target. This is the folder I wanted to copy and then restore, put the database in standby mode so that we can read it, and disconnect the users while it is restoring. So these are the options we specify, and then say okay, it will create the log shipping setup. Okay, so now we got the log shipping for this database, and now let's take a look at the log shipping status. You have log shipping status screen. Now let's take a backup, new backup. So let's run this backup, new log backup, and then without executing the log backup, we are not going to see the records here. So let's run the copy job to copy that. You will see in the WinSource server, this is the log backup we just created, and then we are going to copy the log backup here on the local server in target server. Okay, so when we run this copy job, it will copy the file, this file. This is the tlog file, trn file. Now, if we restore, it will put the database. It will restore the log backup and put the database in standby mode. You can see the records now. All right. Now let's see the log backup restore job status. So here, if we click on this, it will show the restore operation was successful, that the number of log backups restored is 1. So we copied successfully and restored successfully. And then how you read the records. As usual, open the symmetric key and then read it. Okay, so since I have created two symmetric keys to encrypt the records, few records with symmetric key 1 and few records with symmetric key 2. Now I'm going to use these commands and go to the target server. You can read the records like this. So you can read value 1, 2, and 4, 5, 6. And 3, since we messed up the record 3, we are not going to get it unless we use that the authenticator values 1 comma whatever the unique ID, then it's going to work. For example, I think the code should be somewhere down here. Yeah, here, this is the code. Okay, that's fine. I just want to show you that you can, this is how you set up the log shipping when there is a column encryption. There is only one difference. You do everything as usual for setting up log shipping. It is just that you have to restore the SMK from the source server to target server. That's all you need to do. If you don't, then you cannot simply read it, because you cannot open the DMK, because the link between SMK and DMK will be broken if you restore the test database, whatever the database on the target server. Okay, that's the only difference. Otherwise, the log shipping will just work fine. Now let's create a replication. For example, this is my log shipping, and then let's say replication database. Okay, so now I'm going to set up the replication between source and target. To set up the replication, let's configure the distribution first. use this as its own distributor, because we don't have separate distributor server, because we got the replication. What it does, the log reader job reads the log records from the database and put the changes in the distributor first, and from the distribution database it is going to distribute to the subscribers. So where you want to put the distribution database? On distributor. But where is the distributor? We don't have separate servers, so we're going to put the distributor on the same server. So we are going to put the distribution database here, and then select whatever options, click finish. Should be fine. All right, now let's create the publication. You want to create Oracle, you want to read from Oracle, the new publisher, or SQL Server. So this is the only database, that's why it's showing just this. You're going to create the transactional replication. So what are the tables? You can select encrypted table. This is the column level encryption that we implemented. And if there is no primary key, you cannot select. So that is why it is showing these two tables. Create the snapshot immediately and keep it available. Yeah, why not? Let's create the snapshot. And the snapshot agent, let's use the SQL Server service agent to use a snapshot. Click next, create the publication. And what you want to create, test publication. So creating the publication means what are the tables that you wanted to publish. So there are some articles. So every table is article. Even view is an article. So you have to select the articles, which is table, and then publish it. All right. So now let's create the subscription. I would prefer setting up the replication using SA account, because if you use Windows, then pretty much replication jobs, log reader, distribution agent, and then the QReader agent, all those agents will be using your account, Windows accounts, to start and stop. So you don't want your account or any Windows account unless you are using specific service accounts. But I would say use SA account. That way you are better off avoiding some issues. So on target server, you wanted to use this database. You wanted to replicate to this database. So now let's select that, and you can use the distribution agent job to run under SQL Server service account, which is fine. But typically in production, you don't want to be setting up this way. You got to use separate accounts for snapshot, and then distributor agent, and then the log reader, whatever the agent. Every agent should have its own snapshot agent, its own service accounts. That way, you are segregating the responsibilities. All right, now this option is not there in SQL 2012. I remember memory optimized. Now I see this option. I don't know about this. I have to study what this option is, memory optimized. Here we are initializing immediately and create the subscription and finish. Okay, so now you have this table here. You got 7 rows here. Okay, so now let's run this. See, you cannot open because there is no DMK, there is no certificate. You just have the table. So what you may have to do is this. Okay, you cannot simply do like this. You got to copy the service symmetric key as well. Whatever I have did so far, you should not be doing. Probably what you have to do. Let's do this. Let's break this subscriber. Okay, so we removed the subscriber. Now REPL test. Let's drop this database, because you need the same symmetric key. You cannot copy the symmetric key. There is no backup and restore of symmetric key. You can backup and restore certificate. You can backup and restore DMK. Is there a backup of DMK? Yeah, there is a backup of DMK, and you can backup and restore SMK, but you cannot backup and restore symmetric key. That is the key required, because the symmetric key GUID is very important. If you create manually the symmetric key, the GUID will change. You cannot decrypt the data. You have to copy the symmetric key. You cannot take backup and restore. That is why you have to take backup and restore. Let me show you how to do that, how to set up the replication. We took the test database backup on source server, right? We got the backup on the target server. So we have restored the database for log shipping. What we can do is, let's restore the same backup file, but this time what I'm going to say, instead of test, I will say repl test, replication. I'm going to set up the replication for this database. So now I have created this. All right. Now, since I have created, okay, now I can do this, right? Because I have restored the SMK. Now so I can simply I can decrypt the values here. Now I'm going to set up the replication. So it is simple. So subscriber database is REPL test, and then agent is here and going to run continuously, and then okay, yeah, everything is fine. Okay, so we have created the replication, transaction replication between the source and target. So to see the replication, launch the replication monitor. So it applied the snapshot. You can see that from here, right? So this is fine. Your replication is working fine. Let's do this. Let's insert some more records. Okay, since we have applied the backup, okay, it is not retrieving the backup, the restore details from the target server. All right, that's a different issue. Now let's insert some more records. So this time what I'm going to do, we have user 7. Now we can say user 8. Value 10. So we don't need this. We can just simply open, and then okay, so this time I'm going to use this certificate. I'm going to open the symmetric key 2, and then I can check. Okay, I open this key and then insert, because in these inserts I have used symmetric key 2. Close the symmetric key. Now if I execute, I can see 8, 9, 10, which are encrypted by symmetric key 2. Let's go to the target server and execute the statement. Now we can see 8, 9, and 10. Now I can even decrypt 8, 9, and 10 on the replication database. If I execute on test database, since the backup, probably the backup might not have run log backup. Let's run that log backup. Let's go to the target and run the copy job. and then restore job. Still executing. Okay, it's over. Now let's switch to test database. Now you can see even I can retrieve, decrypt the data from test database. So that's how I set up the log shipping and the replication for the databases that have the encryption. All right, so this is how you do this. Now let's do one more thing. Let's say I will tell you one more scenario. This is another database. Let's say I have test1. This is another database. Now, and this database test1, for example, let's say I create database master key in test1 differently. Okay, it is 246. Okay, not admin 123. Okay, but test1, I have created test1 database for different purpose. What I'm trying to do is I wanted to copy this table, this encrypted table. Okay, this table, encrypted table. This is where this is the table that we are playing with. For example, I wanted to copy encrypted table from test database into the test1 database on a different server. But remember, test1 database, I already have DMK created and I have some certificates and then symmetric keys and stuff like that. How can I copy the encrypted table from this server to this server, to different server, to the different database? I cannot back up and restore symmetric keys. Just because I wanted to copy a table, I cannot take the backup of the test database and restore it on different server, because the database test1 on different server it already exists with a bunch of tables and some certificates and database master key, etc., etc. I cannot simply take source database backup and then restore it here, because that will mess up a lot of things. Okay, I just wanted to copy encrypted table from one database, okay, from one server to other server. How do I do that without copying the symmetric, without copying the certificate? Of course, I cannot take a backup of symmetric key. I can copy the certificate or database master key and service master key, but without copying or taking backup of any of the keys from one server to other server, how can I copy the encrypted table? There is a couple of options you can provide in the symmetric key. For example, there is something called key source and identity value. Key source, it is like a key to generate the encrypted data. And then the identity value, it is like a GUID. When you encrypt the column with symmetric key, in the encrypted data, we have seen the GUID, the symmetric key GUID is also there along with the value, right? The value is encrypted and symmetric GUID and all these are combined encrypted data in the column. Earlier examples, when we created a symmetric key, we didn't specify these things. What we said, create symmetric key with some algorithms encrypted by certificate, because we have encrypted using SMK, DMK, and then certificate, symmetric key, and things like that. That's a chain we follow. But now we cannot copy the certificate, we cannot copy the DMK, we cannot, so you cannot follow the chain. Okay, you have to break somewhere. You have to create different symmetric key, but not going to use the same GUID. Okay, so what you can do is so this will be a GUID, this will generate the GUID. This is the key that you're going to generate. And how are you going to encrypt this symmetric key? You don't have the certificate to encrypt the symmetric key, so you got to encrypt by some other means. So what other way is remaining? Password, right? That is why you need to say on what basis you are going to generate, and then how are you going to generate the GUID, And how are you going to encrypt the symmetric key? Okay, if you create a symmetric key like this, then this is independent of any other thing. For example, you create the symmetric key like this and encrypt a column in a table, and you copy the table to any server, any database on any server. You execute the same script on that server, you can perfectly decrypt the value. Let me show you this. I have some examples here. Let me copy these examples. So this script I'm going to execute on source server. On source server, so what I'm going to do, I'm not going to create the database master key because I already have it. Now I'm going to create a symmetric key. Okay, but this time I'm going to provide all these options. This example uses the certificate, but whatever I have shown you here, it is simply using the password. It's up to you. If you have the certificate, it's fine. You can create it. Since I have the certificate on replication database and the log shipping database, same certificate, I can still use this syntax, right? If I cannot for some reason copy the certificate, then I have to encryption by password. So in this example, this works fine. So I'm going to create this symmetric key. It says this certificate. Okay, probably I have been using a different certificate. Let's go to this example, test certificate. Copy this and then paste it. I created the symmetric key. Now open the symmetric key. This time I'm going to say encrypted database 1. Let's insert couple of records and then open keys and then close this. Of course, no more keys, right? So now let's run the backup. So now let's open, let's do this. If I am encrypting the symmetric key with a password, then I have to open the symmetric key with a password. Okay, since I am encrypting with certificate, I'm just decrypting by certificate here. Okay, so let's copy this command. I'm just going to retrieve the records. I just encrypted. I wanted to see if I can decrypt on the source server first. I open. Okay, it is open. And then now let's decrypt it. Sorry, we have encrypted from _1. So we got to select from this. Now we can decrypt that value here and then close the symmetric key. Right, so we can successfully open the symmetric key and then decrypt the value on the source server. Now I copied this code, go to the target server, Now if I execute this on test 1, because the log shipping is hold on, the log shipping is for test, right? So okay, I'm here and then execute. I can decrypt the value here, right? So that's how it works. And then let's go back to the replication database. It cannot, because we have to, in the replication, we don't have the primary key. All right, let's create oh, we cannot create this like this. We have to alter the table and add primary key. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to the designer and then set the primary key, save it. Now I got the primary key for this table. Okay, this is the primary key. Now let's go to the replication, the public publisher. Now I can select this table, click OK. So we need to generate new snapshot. So you can go here and you can create a new snapshot. The snapshot is successful. Oh, now let's go here and then reinitialize the subscription, because the subscription is gone. Now we got to reinitialize, so mark for reinitialization, and now you can see again it created the records on the target. So now basically what I have done, I went to replication and added the new table that we have created into the replication. Okay, so now if you go to the replication database, you can see the encrypted table 1 now here. All right, so let's go to the replication table and execute. You still cannot decrypt because you don't have the symmetric key there. It copied the table and it copied the data. You can see the data here, but the decrypted value is null. So now you have to create for the replication database. What you have to do is you have to create this symmetric key there on the replication server. If you create like this and open, now you can decrypt. Okay, so this is how you copy the encrypted table from one server to other server. For the log shipping, you don't need to, because it copies the symmetric key as well as part of the log shipping. But for the replication, it doesn't copy. In this example, the goal is I don't want to copy the certificate DMK. I just want to copy the table, encrypted table, and the symmetric key. Okay, I cannot copy the symmetric key again. I have to recreate the symmetric key, and thereby I can decrypt the table. This is how I can decrypt the table, just from one server to other server without copying any of the keys. And now let's go to this server. Here in this server, you can let's copy the from source server. Okay, if you're using this driver, probably you have to use in target, and then here I wanted to copy to test one new database. In the new database, okay, this is a brand new database. I just want to copy the table. That's it, right? So what I have to do, this is test one, and authentication integrated security equal to true. Then click next, and target. You can select ODB, Microsoft OLEDB provider or native client. In this example, I'm going to select hold on, source, right? This is source. From here I'm going to copy test1. I don't know why it is showing the system tables. These are replication related the system tables. It's showing all those things. So all right, let's select this table. Target table, it doesn't exist, and maybe you have to enable the identity insert on, and then click OK. Copied the 2 rows to the target server. This is a brand new database, right? Test1. If I refresh, I get this table. Now if I select test1, I don't have the key, but I can create the key. Okay, so before, yeah, I don't have the key yet, right? So let's create the key to test1. Okay, I don't have the certificate, so I need to copy the certificate. So you can see that, okay, this is a brand new database. Do I want to copy the certificate? Yes, in this case I have to. But if I'm copying a table from source server to target server, I can just encrypt by password, right? Let's copy the certificate. Let's take a backup of the certificate. So this is how you take backup of the certificate. You need to take a private key backup as well, because the certificate is type of asymmetric key. It has a public and private keys, right? Now let's go to the source server, test database, backup certificate. So what is the certificate name? Test certificate. This is how I take backup. I got these 2 backups here. Copy the backups to the locally on the target server. Now I have to restore this certificate from this backup file. Now for the restore, you have to use this command, restore. You got to create the certificate from the backup file. That's how you restore. You cannot simply say, okay, restore certificate and stuff like that, but that's what it is. This is the private key name. This is the certificate. So you encrypted by 123 on the source. Yes. Okay, so then I can restore the certificate on the new database, test1. Okay, I recreated. Sorry, I restored the certificate. Now I can create the symmetric key, and now I can open the symmetric key. Check the key is open. Can I decrypt the value? Yes, you can decrypt. Close the symmetric key. Right. That's how you copy the encrypted table without creating the DMK, or without copying the certificates. In this case, since I have used this code for other purposes, I got to copy the certificate. But if I have used the password, encryption by password, I don't need to restore this certificate. Just encryption by password, and then open, and then decrypt the records. That's it. Okay, that's how you copy the encrypted tables from one server to the other server. Okay, let's see if I have anything else. This is another scenario, how you move the encrypted database.